now we can talk about what the Raptors did at the draft, what the Raptors did at free agency. We're Toronto boys, so obviously that means a lot to us. And so their first round pick was Malachi Flynn, and their second round pick, Jalen Harris. And I mean, I didn't know too much about either of these guys, but from what I read up on them, like Malachi Flynn, San Diego State, Kawhi Leonard, San Diego State alum. But so obviously there's a cultural thing there. I guess you could kind of connect. But I mean, what did you think of the pick, firstly?
Yeah, my first thought was like, man, I feel sorry for this guy because he's following the shoes of Pascal Siakam and OG Anunoby as like a late
Yeah.
20s pick. That's a lot of pressure to step into. And then I read up on him too, and it looks like he might be the sort of guy who is exactly fit. I can't remember. Did he take MVP or Defensive Player of the Year?
I think he was Defensive Player of the Year in Mountain West.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, he's, and there's a lot of people are comparing him to Fred VanVleet, which is reasonable because obviously like it's undersized, light skinned guards, got the short hair, both like the biggest thing is they both compete at an incredibly high level and they're both winners.
Yeah.
Like Malachi Flynn, I think San Diego State went 29-2 last year, and they lost in the Mountain West Finals. But he takes pride in his defense, his on-ball defense. Like he's got great hands, and then on offense, like he knows how to run a unit. And so if you have Kyle and Fred starting, then Malachi Flynn can come in and run that bench unit and be effective. And I think that's really important because like Kyle and Fred played way too many minutes last season.
Yeah.
So you kind of need that like third playmaking presence when Nick Nurse was relying on Patrick McCaw to run some of their offense last year. So I think that's a really good pick. And Kyle and Fred are going to turn this guy into a stud. I just know
I'm
it.
excited. Yeah, I mean, what I was reading was kind of shocked that the Raptors had this gift fall into their lap because this could be exactly what they need. And I don't want to get too hyped, put too much pressure, but I'm pretty hopeful.
Yeah.
And everything I'm seeing gives me reason to be optimistic about him.
The biggest worries you have about him as a pick were the same worries that you have about a Kyle and a Fred. And so the fact that he's under their tutelage at this point is going to help him really like mitigate those weaknesses. His undersized, like you just see how Kyle and Fred, they really like in that series against Jason Tatum, like they get up under his chin and they just sit there like right in his jersey.
Yeah.
And so you can be really effective as an undersized defender if you can get in the grill of some of those players. And obviously like Kyle and Fred, they take a lot of damage and don't get charged with a ton of fouls for all the like handwork and like how close they guard because they're smaller and they kind of use that to their advantage.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Jalen Harris. I don't know if there's anything you want to say.
I mean, Jalen Harris, from what I read, he could project to be a bit like a Norm, which, I mean, if he did turn out to be Norm, that's unreal because I thought Norman Powell, like, he started too many games this year, but I think he could have been a decent shot at sixth man of the year the way he played. Like, his efficiency was up, his scoring was up, and he just overall, like, was making better decisions with the ball this year. So this is, like, 59th pick in the draft. Obviously, you're just betting on this guy to maybe be a bench player at his peak and maybe provide you some scoring. But like what people loved about Jalen Harris is that he could score at all three levels. So he could score at the rim, he could score in the mid range, he could score from three. And so if he can provide some of that at the NBA level, like there's always room for more scoring. And I think again, the culture that the Raptors have of developing guys, especially guards at this point, now that we've seen with a Fred, with a Terrence Davis, with a McCaw, with a DeLon Wright, like he could be just another one in those lines and project to be a little bit like a Norm. And I would love that if it turned out. But like my expectations aren't very high for Jalen Harris.
Yeah.
Because of course he's a late second round pick.
Yeah. All right. the biggest and bestest news, depending. We got Freddie back.
Yeah. 4 years, 85 million, and a lot of hockey fans are quivering right now because that money just seems out of this world. But in the NBA, like if you look at other guards around, like he's making around Malcolm Brogdon money, and I would say he's a Malcolm Brogdon level. It's kind of just outside of that all-star guard category, but I think if Fred had more usage last year, he could have been considered for, like if Kyle Lowry wasn't there, I think VanVleet could have been considered as a all-star candidate. So I like the money.
My first reaction was honestly shock because from what I understood, Fred was saying like, I want to get paid. And I thought there would be at least one team willing to take the risk and give him that all-star payday. So Phoenix was one name that was being tossed around, and they went with Chris Paul. So I guess that got turned out.
Yeah.
The Knicks were another name. I think he's from Illinois, yeah?
Yeah.
So Chicago Bulls seemed possible. Yeah. I guess they have White, though, so...
Yeah.
And
Detroit was the last one there, and then they took Killian Hayes with the 9th pick, so that was kind of a big deal for them. And I just don't really know what Detroit's doing, so maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I think the really thing that I loved about this deal is that it's front loaded in this first year, so he's gonna make a little bit more than that. What is it, 21 per year? He's gonna make more than that this year, and because they're playing in Tampa Bay this year, less taxes for my boy Freddie. So the taxes get charged on where you play your home games. And so since they're playing in Tampa Bay, my boy's going to make a lot more money than he would be playing north of the border here in Toronto. So that's nice. And then, of course, that second year and third and fourth year are going to be a little bit less. And that's obviously because they're trying to create space for Giannis. So I think that the deal is great because they maintain that cap space next year, but they get Freddie at a great number. And I don't know if any of the other teams were willing to go that high. I think just the Raptors value him a lot higher than the other teams in the league, and deservedly so. He's been incredible for us the last 2 seasons.
And hey, he wants to win, and the Raptors are a place where he knows he can win. So I'm happy. I remember I've heard somewhere that like a good deal leaves both sides a little unhappy. I think this is the opposite. I think we managed to get Freddie at a price where we don't have to give up on that 2021 free agent race, and Freddie's going to get paid, and we are a better team for it, which both sides are happy. We got a chance to win. So
I love it.
I didn't think it was going to happen. It happened. I mean, hey, he led us in scoring in the playoffs. Like, you kind of want to re-sign that. So
yeah. I mean, I guess we'll transition to some more upsetting news as basically both of our big men made their way to Los Angeles. Serge Ibaka, 2 years, $19 million with the Los Angeles Clippers. The second year, I believe, is a player option. And then Marc Gasol, 2 years at the veteran minimum to the Lakers. And I mean, I kind of saw the Gasol one coming as soon as those rumors started circling, and the Lakers said they had interest. And I mean, when they signed, we'll get to it later, when they signed Montrezl Harrell, I was thinking, wow, like, I don't know if they're going to have room for Gasol, but they come in, they pitch him the beauty of raising his kids in Los Angeles. They pitch him the defending champions, right? Like, he wants to win. That's what the point of his career is. And so I think it's a great signing for the Lakers because he can defend and doesn't have to be out on the perimeter because that's what Davis can handle. But he can basically be a big body in the paint and just continue to keep that theme of that Lakers like length and being everywhere. And on offense, like, it's incredible what he can do on offense. People really like undervalue what he brings, but JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard, all they would do is rebound and rim run and foul. But Mark, you can spread him out and have him shoot, or he can catch it and go high-low and give it to AD in the post and be a potent enough threat so that if you have JaVale McGee in that like dunking spot, his player's not going to go over and double team Davis and really clog up the paint. So I think this is a really great pickup for the Lakers. What do you think about Gasol?
Yeah, I mean, the dialogue I've had going on internally with the free agency and just the Raptors moved is like, how micro macro should we be analyzing their season? Like, you could get as micro as, let's look at game 7 against the Celtics and say what went wrong there and let's fix that, because if they had won that game, we'd be thinking differently about the Raptors than we're thinking now. Or you could look at the overall trends of the season. I don't really think that's what management did. I think they decided their number one priority is that 2021 off season, and it was the 2 years that got Ibaka and Gasol to sign away.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate. I really liked it because they had such similar strengths. Their rebounding, their passing, their 3-point shooting, their defense. One of them could be having a bad game and you could pretty reliably go to the other one.
Yeah.
It didn't quite work out for us in the playoffs, but I really liked that system we had, and giving up on it sucks. But we'll see.
Yeah. I think this and that kind of leads into the Serge signing. Like, I think we could have kept one or both, but just the money didn't fit with our timeline. And I think Serge recognized that not a lot of teams have a ton of cap space this year. So he goes 2 years with the Clippers. One of those is a player option that he'll probably opt out of. So he basically gets a 1-year run here with that Clippers team, who are starting to tinker with their lineup. They traded for Luke Kennard. They lost Harold to free agency, which was very shocking, but they pick up Serge, who I think is an upgrade over Harold because of the experience that he brings. He's a little bit bigger and plays a little bit better defense, and like he can shoot the heck out of the ball. And so I think that's something that the Clippers are going to love having with Serge. And pretty inexpensive for what he got, but he's going to play this 1-year ring chase, do his thing. And then I think next year in this 21 free agency class, when all the teams have a ton of cap space, he's going to cash out and get a longer term deal.
Yeah, I think he made the best decision for himself. The Raptors made the best decision for themselves, and that brings us to what that decision is. Let's talk a little more specifically about it. They're going to try and keep what worked. They're saying, we believe in this team. We believe in Freddie. We believe in Kyle. We believe in the growth of Pascal and OG. But we also we want to keep our option open for 2021.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how that's going to play out. I'm looking around at the East and I'm a little scared.
Well, I mean, the Raptors lose their centers, and everyone was kind of scrambling thinking, oh, what's going to happen? And I think the move they made to get Aaron Baynes 2 years at $14 million, and again, hockey fans terrified of that number. But again, to put it in perspective, that's like third line center money. That's fourth line, like there's nothing in basketball.
We spent like 3-4 months negotiating with Nylander to get him at like around 7-8 million.
Yeah. And then Aaron Baynes takes it, and he's obviously
he might be our starting center.
He will be, I think, and he won't be as good as Serge and Mark, but he does a lot of great things, and I think underrated. Like, he fits in so well with this Raptors team. He shot 35% from 3 last season on like 4 attempts per game. So he already, I mean, Marc Gasol shot around 40%, but a lot of us were sitting there watching those threes halftime and was like, please, Mark, don't ever shoot. Because it felt like they never went in. But Aaron Baynes, like, he made 9 threes in a game last season and was taking like step back heat check threes in that game. So he can light it up. So again, and then I think him and Kyle are going to love each other. Kyle makes all of his centers that he plays with better because of the spacing he can create off the dribble in a pick and roll. And Aaron Baynes is one of the best illegal screen setters getting away with it in the NBA. And like, he's a tough dude. He's been memed because he has like the most receiving end of posters ever. There's a video outlining it. But honestly, I love that because it means that even though he's been dunked on 3-4 times, he's gonna go back up there and contest it the next time, right? He's not gonna, he's not gonna back down. So he rebounds well. He actually is underrated at passing the ball, and so I think we're gonna love to see something like he might throw some backdoor passes to a Pascal cutting or an OG cutting. I think Raps fans are gonna love that. And then he screens well, and he plays like strong, big body defense. I saw a super cut yesterday on Twitter of Baynes 2 years ago on the Celtics, and it was basically Norm Powell there's like a minute of Norm Powell driving at him in this one game they played, and he was straight up the whole time, and Norm like didn't score at all. It was just Norm taking it right at him, and he just contested every single layup, and Powell was missing. So
see,
again,
what I'm worried about is he's 6'8", and that's going to work out well against some teams, but I think we're going to match up against some teams with like a tall lineup, and we're going to struggle on defense.
yeah,
Like you saw against the Celtics, sometimes we were running OG at the 5 on D,
yeah,
and that worked against Tice.
yeah.
But if we're up against, like, I don't know, a Karl Anthony Towns or Bam Adebayo, I don't know how we're going to defend against those guys.
Well, so and that's up to Nick Nurse, right? And I trust him. Like, I think Baynes will be the starting center for most games, but I think we might close a lot of games with the Pascal or OG at the 5 because that's like the skill lineup, and I'm okay with that because I know they can draw up some schemes where they're double teaming guys in the post or just hedging guys when they're trying to run for alley oops. Like, the Raptors are going to struggle to rebound, but I mean, I guess some of that could be solved by their re-signing of Chris Boucher, who needs to eat his Wheaties, get in the gym, put on some pounds, because I mean his Instagram name's Slim Duck for a reason, but the dude's a stick figure. And I think there's actually a good contrast here with Boucher and Baynes, because Baynes is kind of this like boulder who's gonna move dudes, and Boucher is a little bit smaller, but he's faster running down towards the rim. He can catch a ton of stuff, super athletic, catching lobs, and then he can step outside and shoot the 3, which I think we'll see him do a lot more of this season. He'll have a little bit more freedom to do that. And I mean, like, he was a G League MVP, so hopefully there's a higher ceiling for Boucher to really like take off and step into this backup center role, and in 5-6 minutes at a time could guard a bigger center, because he may not be strong right now, but he has that length, and he could grow into a fuller body and just be more of like a defensive specialist.
Yeah, there's Nick Nurse has absolutely earned our trust, and I am excited to see how he can move those pieces into the most optimal way, because there probably is a way to take advantage of Boucher's length, OG's defense IQ, and Baynes' solidness, and give any center in the league a lot of trouble.
Is there anything left in free agency that you kind of see that you want the Raptors to do, or that they kind of need to get done? Check another thing off the bucket list.
I guess the only thing is I'm not sure what's up with Terrence Davis. I don't know when the charges are going to be resolved. That you can't really count on that. I don't know enough about it to comment on the likelihood of him playing this season. If he's not, that's a hole on our team that I'd rather have filled than not, but I don't think there's a lot left in free agency we can do about it.
Yeah, I think We're pretty deep at guard at this point. I'd like to see a bit more depth at the big position still. Like we have Baynes, we have Boucher, we have Pascal, we have OG who can all operate in that 3-4-5 range. But like after that, it gets pretty shallow. You've got the Stanimal, who's goated for that one game he had in the bubble, but besides that, absolute bum. And then you've got Patrick McCaw, who at this point like is a guard. You've got Dewan Hernandez, last year's second round pick, who I haven't seen enough from him. Like hopefully he gets better, but I'm not counting on him for real minutes. And besides that, and then like Paul Watson's on a 2-way contract, and again, like he's gonna spend most of his time in the G League. So I think they just kind of need one more big to fill that hole in the roster. Someone who can come off the bench and give you like a reliable 10 minutes of defense and maybe some shooting.
Do you have any names in the free agent pool that come to mind?
I mean, nothing really stands out because there's like not much left. But I mean, I could see. Whew, yeah, there's not much. I guess they could re-sign Hollis Jefferson, which I wouldn't mind because he gave us some good stuff off the bench last year. Besides that, like a lot of the big men who are on the board have been signed. As we're doing the podcast right now, Markieff Morris just signed a 1-year deal to return to the Lakers. So
yeah, I heard him being tossed around this morning with potential.
Yeah,
but
I'm happy about that. He seems a bit like a vacuum for the basketball. Like both the Morris twins, they don't turn away open shots for a better shot. They take the shot themselves. It's just a bit of a ball stopper. And
it's not what we want on the Raps.
Exactly. We want people who can move the ball around. So, I mean, I don't know what's going to fill that role, and I'm not exactly sure of who's still out there, but I think they just got to get one more guy who isn't Dewan Hernandez or Stanley Johnson.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't know. Maybe they can move a draft pick in a trade.
Yeah.
I guess so. Then the last question I'd have for you is how do you like our chances this season as is?
Oh man, I mean, the East has gotten better, which is unfortunate, but also you could see happening. So Milwaukee's up there, right? They're always going to be up there. They have Giannis, and they just made that move for Drew Holiday. Absolute debacle with Bogdan Bogdanovic, and they don't end up with him, which is actually, I'm not complaining too much because that could mean Giannis leaves. And then you've got the Nets, of course, with KD, Kyrie. They're in the James Harden sweepstakes if he gets moved, and they re-signed Joe Harris, so obviously they're going to be a contender. Philadelphia, I loved what they did. Daryl Morey's just so smart. Coming over from Houston, new GM, he already got rid of Al Horford's contract, added some shooting, some young shooting around Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. So they drafted Tyrese Maxey. They drafted Isaiah Joe. They acquired, I can't even remember anymore who it was. That's fine. They traded away. They got Seth Curry in that deal for Josh Richardson. So they added more shooting around those two guys, and I think that's really going to help them perform next season. So I think Philadelphia's up there. Boston's just getting better. They signed Tristan Thompson, which is basically an upgrade over Tice.
Yeah.
So I see the Raptors they kind of fall into that 3 to 6 seed in the playoffs because I still think they're better than the majority of the East, but the top of the East continues to get better.
Yeah, and that's kind of the decision. I mean, I don't think there really were any big moves available to give us a real serious shot at the number one contender in the East position this year. We'll have that opportunity next year. OGs might be my favorite player on the Raptors. So I'm really hopeful to see him continue to get better and make the kind of leap we've seen Siakam make. If something like that can happen, especially if we can re-sign him or give him an extension before that leap happens, we're in amazing footing. But yeah, it's tough. You have to wait and see what we got. But the quicker you can decide, okay, I like what we got, we don't have to tear anything down, let's go with it, then the better position we're in. But if we lock in too early, we could doom ourselves for the next 5 years. And the other issue is, I don't know how, like, I think of Lowry as like the heart, the engine of this team. And I don't know how many more years he can be that for. Like the way he plays defense you were talking about earlier, and the number of minutes he logs, that's not, or there's like some serious injury potential there as you get, I mean, he's 34 now. I don't know when you can reasonably expect like some drop off in performance. So as much as I want to say like, okay, I like what we've got, we're building, we're improving, we're getting better every year, like the engine of our team has a not too far away expiration date on his status of that, and I don't really know how the team functions without him. So I'm a
My
little
my ideal scenario is Lowry comes back, like he's gonna retire after. He comes back on lower money, and Fred kind of takes over that role of the starting point guard, heart of the team, but Lowry's still on the team. We got enough money to get a superstar. And maybe it's not Giannis, but maybe it's Kawhi if he leaves the
yeah.
Clippers, or maybe it's, I don't know, Paul George, but maybe not because I don't want pandemic P. But like a big name free agent who's out there, and Lowry stays because like, obviously people love playing with him and hate playing against him, and so he's an attractive piece for any free agent who's coming to Toronto. But you kind of have Fred slowly taking over that role of the starting point guard.
And Malachi, hopefully.
Yeah, ideally. I mean, I see because Fred's now he's going in his 5th year, so there is that time that it takes to really develop. So I don't see Malachi doing anything super special until maybe his 3rd season.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm looking at what Siakam and OG have been able to do, and I'm judging Malachi more on that than Fred.
Yeah.
Or I'm basing my expectations on that. Yeah, I think you're right. Like the Kawhi was the key piece of like that made the team its best, and we're missing that superstar level consistency right now. And like it's such a weird team because Lowry, Siakam, and VanFleet can all be that superstar at any given moment, but not reliably or consistently enough to bank on, especially in the improving East we just talked about.
You hope Siakam can make that leap, but if not, he's probably your best like number 2 option.
Yeah, just watching the Celtics series, like he very much, you saw what a superstar looked like in Tatum, and you saw the contrast in what Siakam was and wasn't able to do. And hey, best case, maybe his takeaway is the exact same, and he's been spending this off season and he's just at that mentality. I hope he feels like the number 2 power forward in the East, right? Well, not including Giannis, obviously, but I hope he's got a little more dog in him, and I mean, everything he's done so far has been great. I hope to see him get even greater, but I don't know. I'm nervous about how much time we have left with Lowry and what he's going to want to do when his contract expires, because I don't know if the team clicks without him.
There's one thing I know though, you gotta have faith in Masai. He's our leader. He has made all the right moves up until this point, so I trust where he's going with the direction of the team. And if Lowry has to go, you would hope that the culture that's been established for the last 8-9 years that he's been here is one of winning and one of hard work and excellence that like all the new players coming to the team really buy into, and that comes from the top. Like Masai works endless hours every day, and he's probably, if not the one of the best general managers in the league, or president of basketball operations, as Bobby Webster holds the GM role. But I mean, that's got to be my key takeaway, is that despite losing Serge, despite losing Gasol, we get Fred, we get Malachi Flynn and Jalen Harris, which like could end up being a pretty solid bench guard duo, and we end up with Aaron Baynes, who's an underrated great pickup, and we re-signed Boucher for great money. Like, I just think they make value moves, and they make moves with the long term in mind. And so overall, I'm feeling pretty happy. And maybe this season isn't going to be the best, but like I'm super excited for what this Raptors team shows us this year, and I'm super excited for like 2021 and beyond.
I'm gonna stay a little more pessimistic than you, but also hopeful. We'll see what the season looks like.
All right, I think that's gonna wrap up all the time we have for this one, but next time we'll dive into some free agency, take a look at the East, take a look at the West, what moves we liked, what moves we didn't like, Detroit. Yeah, it's good to talk to you, buddy. And
yeah, you too.
see you
Looking
next
forward
time.
to it. See you next time.